All right, Aniqa. Um, do you see my screen?
Yep.
Great. So we'll be working on Jupiter and Capricorn on the cusp of the seventh, on the descendant.
Okay.
So immediately that makes me wonder, like, what kind of people do you befriend? Who's around? It feels like a grandma or grandpa kind of character around.
I did have a grandma that was present most of my life. I didn't really meet my granddads because they passed before I was born.
Tell me about your grandma.
So she raised us alongside obviously my parents, but she was there most of the time, and we had more of a, I'd say, more of a connection with her. You know, more of a motherly figure. It's a very, very close relationship with my grandma.
Okay. Do you immediately see that already in this placement, or do you want me to explain it?
No, I actually don't see it in that placement.
Okay. When it's about your descendant, the cusp of the seventh, that's the people that you're close to, that you relate to frequently, not just your romantic relationships, but any relationships that you have ongoing with people. So Capricorn obviously is like an elderly person can be. It's many different things, but especially because Jupiter is there. Jupiter also represents the elderly, people who are have more wisdom, more insight, right? So being able to constantly relate to such a person that is very close to you in life, I immediately feel there's a big benefactor in your grandma.
Hmm.
Okay. What is it like growing up with, does she tell you stories of the past? Does she teach you things?
So she wasn't really like that. She was more like always there, to sort of nurture, take care of us. She did have, some stories um from when she was growing up as well. But she did live a very long life. She has passed now, but there was more of a sort of, I'd say, connection with my grandma. We were really close to her. She really you know, loved us deep, deep, deep. And my mum's her only child, so we were her only grandkids. So, you know, it was a very, strong relationship. But yeah, there were stories past and things.
Mm-hmm. So you were constantly in contact with her, and that contact was always like amazing, like good
Yep,
natured.
yep, definitely. Yeah, very good relationship. Constant contact. She was always there.
Okay. Do you feel the Jupiter in that, in her energy, that she's so expansive and wonderful and giving and like good for
Yeah,
you?
yes, definitely.
Okay. What are your interests? What do you study, or do you even work already?
So I'm a nurse.
Uh-huh.
Yeah, I'm a nurse. I've been a nurse for a couple years. And yeah, I am pivoting within nursing. But ultimately I'm a caregiver. And my grandma was definitely the most, I'd say she was the biggest caregiver in my life as well, now that you mention it.
Okay. So what environment do you work in? Is it like with kids, with geriatrics, in a hospital, in a
So at first it was more in the ER, and then it pivoted to nutrition. And now I'm on a venture to do, aesthetics, so cosmetics and things like that.
Okay, can you tell me more about that?
What about the aesthetics?
Yeah.
Yeah, so amplifying, or I'd say enhancing looks or features to make people feel more confident, but very naturally. So um I do have an interest in that, and also I have always gravitated towards teaching students and things like that as well. I'm very passionate about what I learn, and I love to like sort of repeat it and teach others, if that makes sense.
Okay, what would you teach, for example?
So in the UK, whenever you do have students, whenever you are practicing, so whatever it is that you are, working in. So for example, at the moment I am working in nutrition before I transfer over to aesthetics. If I do have students, I would teach them, you know, why they're doing the things they're doing. They would shadow me, and yeah, stuff like that. So having a student, so I'd be like a mentor.
Uh-huh. And you love to do that.
Yeah, I think that's where I sort of find myself talking a lot more, and you know, researching a lot more about why, and coming up with new ways to do things and stuff, and then sharing them.
Okay. Do you see that? Jupiter angular in Capricorn on the cusp of your seventh, that one of the most meaningful relationship styles to you is in fact by teaching.
Yeah, yeah, definitely. I would say a lot of people come to me for advice.
Okay, very good.
Yeah, a lot of people come to me for advice. I feel like anybody that does talk to me or calls me after a while, it's because they want either reassurance about their situation, some clarity, or like, you know, just somebody to speak to.
Okay. Do you get that now with Jupiter on your descendant, that you frequently have people coming to you for wisdom?
Yes, yes, yes. I do actually. Yep.
Also, the Capricorn part of it makes me think about the steps they should take or the path they should take or how they should do something, but it's kind of helping them arrange to understand what actions would be helpful for their situation.
Yeah, definitely. And I feel like I do that a lot with my own situation where I kind of have to you know, when you strategically, because my mind works in structural things, so I'm like, yeah, we want to do this, but then I'm good at coming up with practical ways to actually achieve that, tailoring it to the circumstances currently. Things that I'm really, yeah, I do that for myself, my family. I actually do, yeah, yeah. Now that you say it, yeah, I actually do that a lot.
Do you feel the Capricorn there helping people structure so they know how they can and what direction they need to go?
Yes.
Figuring out what are the real practical steps, Capricorn?
Yeah, definitely. And pulling out all the stops as well. So, like, you know, thinking of things that might go wrong if you go this way, and coming up with, you know, like all the paths. So, if you take this path, this is what it could look like. But if you take this path, this is what it could look like. Now the choice is sort of yours, you know?
Yeah, the preparation, Capricorn.
Yeah, definitely. Yeah, I do that a lot.
Makes me think that also you did well in school. Like learning for you is something exciting and comes naturally.
So I feel like growing up, it it was sort of clouded for me. You know, I didn't really do that well, but then again, I didn't grow up in the best of circumstances at home, so I didn't have, you know, my parents were addicts and things. So it wasn't until I actually left home, pursued my own, you know, path, and then I learned about myself that actually this is my learning style. This is, if I had the upbringing that I would have liked, maybe I would have had these qualities sooner, but it was, I had to learn it all by myself later on in life. And
Hmm.
so I would have done good. I had the potential to do well in school. I think I just didn't have the nurturing environment that, you know, that reassured me, that pushed me, that encouraged me. But as I grew older, I became that for myself.
Hmm.
Yeah.
When you were growing up, were you into like how did you get along? What did you enjoy doing? Did you like to read, for example? Oops. Or to like spend more time with other adults?
Yeah, so I would speak to the elderly, actually, now that you mention it, older people, people with, you know, I'd always ask the questions where, you know, like your parents would say, oh, don't say that, don't ask that, that's a bit weird, you know, but I'd ask the uncomfortable question, searching for a different sort of understanding. But when I was younger, I was very not academic, but I was more creative. So I was into, you know, all the creatives, sports, you know, singing, all that stuff. Um, Very expressive.
Yeah, that makes me think about your moon in Leo, of course.
Yeah, very expressive.
Okay. But you didn't have a chance to develop those things, maybe?
No, no, it was all because of my circumstances and my upbringing. It just was, it wasn't, it wasn't aligned for me. when I was younger.
Can you give an example of why?
So I don't know if it was cultural factors that played into this, or whether it was the fact that my parents had their own problems, but it was more like, oh no, you need to, my dad was like, no, you need to, become somebody with so many degrees and like academically bright. So whenever I would show talents or strengths in areas that were more creative, though those were shut down. I was told, no, that's not it, you don't do that. They were just constantly shut down growing up. So if for example, if there was a parents' evening at school, and my teachers would say, oh, she's really good at sports, or the creative sides were really good, but then the maths and the English and the science wasn't as great, the focus was more on why wasn't that good, as opposed to the things that I was actually good at.
Okay, so I want to point out to you that your moon and Saturn make an exact trine to the minute, 0 degrees, 0 minutes.
Yeah.
And your moon in Leo, of course, for me is the creative, expressive, athletic side that is much more energy generating. And of course, it's in exact contact with Saturn. That makes me think it's always shut down. It's always stopped. It's not allowed to develop. Your parents don't care about it. They don't want you to be in that, right? So you have this natural talent, but it's not being supported. It's being constantly put to stop. Does that make sense to you, the moon Saturn?
100%. Yeah.
Okay. And then the Jupiter on the descendant in Capricorn. Think about that. That your father in this case emphasizes having degrees, being certified, being a person that's respected academically, right?
Yeah.
So that's always kind of being put in front of you. Jupiter on the descendant in Capricorn. Capricorn also like, more of the traditional real world, like economics, mathematics, engineering, those kinds of subjects, Capricorn.
My dad's an engineer.
Okay, there you go.
Yeah. He wanted me to be, somebody that maybe became a lawyer or a doctor, or, some traditional, careers, whereas I was not about that.
So that was always kind of in your face, was it, from him? Like he would emphasize that again and again?
Oh yeah, yeah. So I'd feel very ashamed of my own, things that I actually wanted to do, and I thought that they were wrong, and I used to think, oh, when you're as a child, you're confused as to why it is like that for you. So yeah, it was always shut down. So I think I internalized, there was a bit of shame attached to it because of that as well.
Mm. Yeah, so the moon Saturn for me is where that comes from, whereas the emphasis on traditional academics is the Jupiter and Capricorn descendant.
Mm-hmm.
Was your dad also kind of instructive with you? Like he wanted you to, I don't know, take courses or like do more homework or do the advanced class or something like that?
Oh yeah, yeah, 100%. I got he got a tutor for me, specifically for those three traditional subjects that I did not have any interest in. So he pushed and pushed and pushed, but it really didn't get anywhere because I had no interest. So
Right. Even having the tutor, right? Jupiter on the descendant in Capricorn. Having to meet
yeah,
again and again to study, to learn, to improve, to be smarter, whatever. And I guess in part for him, it's about preparing you for the real world. The Capricorn's coming in from you.
yeah, definitely. Yeah, he would say, those other things that I was into, oh, there's no money in that, there's no career, there's no actual job. Like, he thought that they were just gimmicks or something.
Uh-huh. Okay.
Yeah.
This makes me think also about like religion.
Well, it was very contradicted in my household. Like religion was like, it wasn't really pushed and practiced. However, it was talked about as if, it was almost as if like, because like I said, he was an addict. So we are Muslim. And obviously Muslims don't drink or do, not supposed to do that.
Oh,
But
yeah.
he would want us to be traditionally, you know, following the religion. However,
Yeah.
the example wasn't there. And it was like, you know,
So
so
would he talk to you about like, what is in the Quran and do all of the rituals and the holidays and observe all the traditions like that?
yeah, Yeah, so it would be, it's so bad to say, but he'd obviously, when he'd do that, he wouldn't be sober, and we'd know that, he's not sober, so he'd sit there talk preaching all these things. But the irony was that we'd sit there and think, we don't like, you're not going to take a drunk person as a child seriously. Like, do you know what I mean? It's very, very contradictory.
Interesting.
Yeah, I have a feeling that it was more like, I think how he tried to, you know, be a father to me was more like what his father would do to him. And maybe there was a sense of guilt in his heart that, oh, I'm doing all this, but let me try and push this onto my kids just so I don't feel guilty. You know what I mean?
Mm-hmm.
So yeah,
I totally get it. Oh God.
yeah, yeah.
But do you feel again Jupiter on the descendant, right? The preaching.
Yes, yes. Oh, yes, I do. Yeah, yeah. I do. That is wow. Yeah.
The preaching and the like the observing all the traditions and reading and what does the Quran say and what should we do in our faith and that's
Yeah.
kind of the Jupiter also, right?
Yes. Yes. Definitely.
Okay. You said that you're doing nutrition. So
Yeah.
what does that mean exactly? Because can you give me an image of how you work with that, with what kind of people over what period of time?
Yeah. So it would be, people that have lost their ability to swallow or that need extra nutrition from feeds as opposed to food that they can't eat because maybe they've got esophagus cancer or throat cancer or something like that. So now they need a NG tube or a gastrostomy tube where, you know,
Mm,
um, but in my role, I also teach other practitioners and patients how to manage their own feeds and how to care for their own tubes, and other practitioners on how to do the same as well. So that's all within my role.
okay, obviously you see the Jupiter in that, right?
Yeah.
Okay, but also the Capricorn, because think about Capricorn as a person's body evolving and going through various changes, natural changes, right? Which is Capricorn, the earth sign.
Hmm.
And so that you help people deal with the practical reality of their situation and understand what are the steps they need to take on earth to be better with whatever is going on with them. Right
Yes.
there, I feel the Jupiter in Capricorn again, very much in the nutrition thing.
Yeah, yeah. So that would be part of my role as well. It's just how they can manage. I wouldn't it's not the psychological, and even though, it's not, I'm not supposed to like be there as a therapist or anything, but that's something you naturally do anyway, because I meet people every single day, I see people every single day. In conversation, you do say what you're struggling with and things like that. So naturally, I'm just always being.
Informed by them.
Yes, yes, exactly.
And you have to learn, I guess, with each person about their particular condition and their particular needs and
Yeah,
how, yeah, right?
definitely. Yeah. Every person is different. The reason why each person has a tube or that needs a gastrostomy or whatever tube is it's a different reason for each person.
Okay. Right. So that you're in contact with people every day, always on this kind of higher level. You have to learn and you have to explain, and it's not just like a normal everyday relationship. Right. And
Yeah,
again,
yeah.
or in dealing with the practical reality of their situation and how they can moving forward improve and just like live better.
Yeah, yeah, definitely. And I'm also there to, if something goes wrong with the feeding tube, if it blocks, if it's fallen out, anything like that, I'm there to go fix it, replace it, teach them how to do it, that they can do it the next time by themselves and things like that.
Okay, is it making sense, all of
Yeah,
this now? Is it like coming? Okay.
yeah, that is definitely the theme. No matter which career or whatever aspect of nursing I go to, the theme is always sort of that. it is always that. And even with aesthetics, that's something I've wanted to do anyway, but then again, I always get drawn to, so if I've learned something today, I'll go home to my sisters or whoever I've spoken to, or my colleagues, and I'll repeat it all again. And I'm, you know,
Ah, interesting.
yeah, or I come up with a way, I'm like, oh, actually, I've learnt this today, but I think if we did it this way, it might be better. And I come up with a system of my own, sort of thing.
Yes, exactly. I see you creating systems.
Yeah. I do want my own clinic. Obviously, that's something in the future. That's something I know that I have to work on and things like that. But I do always, every time I've gone to clinics now to try and, get a job to practice my skills and things, I always notice, not that I know everything, but there's things that I notice. I'm like, well, if they did that, maybe this thing would improve, or, and I'm like, oh, what if I created my own clinic? This is the system I would have, and I always think of it like that. It always replays in my head. I'm like, oh, if I had this problem, I would fix it this way, you know?
You hear the Capricorn in that, right?
Yeah, I do. But growing up, that was never developed. I think I was always, called naive, and you know, when you're underestimated intellectually.
Interesting.
Yeah,
Maybe that also makes me think about the Capricorn in terms of like the knowledge that you build over a lifetime, that eventually you become the go-to because you're the absolute expert. But in order to get there, it's like that huge period of building competence until the recognition finally comes. And
yeah,
I also feel like with Jupiter, like what's coming to me is like you're when you interact with people, you're asking a lot of questions. You're trying to understand them, what they're doing, what they're saying, how they're reasoning, how they
yeah.
put things together.
Yes, it's like I need to know every single detail before I can, I'm or if I know if I don't have every single detail, because when I'm looking at the bigger picture, I know the details that I'm missing. Yeah,
Hmm.
very detail oriented.
Okay, I see you talking to your patients, and designing a system for them together with them. And then once you get through it, they feel like, oh my God, I know what to do. And it's kind of exciting. It's boring in a way because it's just for their practical stuff, but it's also like they figured it out. You help them
Yeah,
figure it out.
yes, that's it. Yeah, I do that every day.
Okay. If you transition to aesthetics, how does that, what would you do in that world? Who would you work with? Is it again with old people, or is it with young people, with just anyone?
It can be anybody. But the main thing is it's helping people feel more confident with their physical appearance. And it's not just physical appearance. This can be sort of things that I'm looking into, such as massages, holistic routes within aesthetics. It's not just sort of Botox and filler and things. I'm also looking into, um, other holistic ways like massages, cupping, other ways to heal the body.
Yeah, like working with different kinds, like Chinese medicine comes to mind, or
Yeah.
ac- like herbs, like different herb treatments.
Yes. So definitely well-being as well as aesthetics, if that makes sense. So that's the route that I want to take in the future. Obviously, I know we're talking about my Jupiter placement, but I have gone through my Saturn return, and it was a very internal process. It was I had to just, think about, but now I know that it's not just that I want to get into aesthetics. It's more like I want something of my own. I want my own clinic. I want my own way of doing things. Um, it's just something of my own.
Okay, therefore I'm feeling the moon Saturn again, especially Saturn in Aries in your 10th house,
Yeah.
doing things your own way, but like it takes you a long time to finally get to the point where you can do them your own way. Because first you have to visit the other clinics and see how they do things, and you never have the opportunity to just make immediate changes yourself, right? Saturn always keeping you back, holding you back
That's how I feel.
until, go ahead.
That's how I feel right now. I think I was looking into other clinics, but I just had this intuitive feeling because I have a very strong intuition, and I just felt like, no, this isn't the one. No, this isn't. It just something feels off about every opportunity that comes to me at the moment. But even though I have the drive, it's just feeling like no matter what I do, it's just blocked off.
Yeah. So therefore, I feel your Saturn in the 10th.
Yeah, it's so frustrating.
I can imagine. Also, because your moon is exactly trine. So I can, like, it's old. That makes me feel that you're a natural leader. You know what to do and what to say, and you love to be the one that is kind of at the center of things.
Yeah.
But it's not afforded to you yet.
Yeah, I don't know. I just don't know what the missing piece is. I'm still figuring it out, but I just don't want it to completely crush my spirit and my ambition at this stage.
Uh, that just makes me think about your Saturn return that you said you kind of passed it. I know what you mean because Saturn won't return to 0 degrees, but he will return to 8 degrees, which is very close. So that makes me think about how you're actively in this process of like, okay, I have these big ideas. I really want to make them happen, but it's not happening.
Yeah.
Right. So Saturn is still transiting the 10th for the next like 2 years. How long do you think it would even that makes me think about you transitioning to aesthetics?
Yeah.
Is it a difficult process to transition?
No, so I've got my qualifications, but people that do get these qualifications, they set up independently themselves. But I'm the type of person where I value practice and experience before I can say, right, I own this and I offer this service. I just don't feel like it's right until I can become sort of not a complete expert, but I've practiced it enough to know what I'm talking about. So I value time and other professionals opinions and the way learning before I can go off on my own. It just doesn't feel, even though I can go off on my own if I wanted to, it just doesn't feel, I don't feel practiced enough. I don't feel like I've built up my skills enough to be able to do that yet. And then
Totally.
I'm not doing a service to anyone by, I just feel like an amateur, right now. So
Okay, very good. Yes. That makes me think about your moon Saturn a lot, like the responsibility you take to make sure whatever you're going to be expressing is right. And you
yes,
have enough experience that you can speak like with your full chest, say it
yeah,
with confidence. Yeah.
yeah,
Okay. But then, of course, I also feel the Jupiter again on the descendant. Practice, learn, 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 become very competent, and then, right? So there's the Capricorn piece coming through again,
that's it. But at the
right?
same time, I always think, am I holding myself back because I'm just estimating my knowledge and my skills and well, like, am I ever going to feel competent enough? You know?
Okay. There's your moon Saturn again, right? It's exact.
Yeah,
Am I holding myself back? Am I ever going to be competent enough? Can I really make this look right the way it's supposed to?
yeah,
Yeah.
definitely.
Hmm. So what do you think is the timeline for a clinic of your own?
Oh, I wish it was like something that came in the near future, but something tells me that right now I just feel like I'm in a period of where I need to just wait, reflect, ground, and just not let this whole thing where I'm just feeling blockages get the better of me, where I completely give up on something I know that I want to do. So,
What's what blockage? Can you just give an example of a blockage?
this might sound a bit woo woo, but when an opportunity comes and you're in the process of making things happen, you're in the process of like tailoring your current circumstances and life to it, and then all of a sudden you get this feeling overnight that no, I think this is me forcing something. This doesn't feel natural. It doesn't feel like it's meant to be. I just and logically and on paper people would probably think that makes no sense, this is amazing, you should go for it. But I always look at my own logistics. I have a 3-year old. There's other things that I'm juggling alongside trying to do this. I just don't want to put myself in a situation where I've burdened myself, I've strained myself, and then I've burnt out, because I suffer with burnout quite a lot. So
Oh, yeah. Okay.
I'm
Hmm.
stuck. I feel like I'm just stuck.
I'm feeling the burnout again with the moon in Leo trying Saturn in Aries, the fire energy, right? Of working way too
Yeah,
hard, like pushing yourself to the point of total exhaustion or taking so much on yourself that you're just completely compressed.
that's it.
And then, of course, the Saturn in Aries, Aries is getting started, right?
No.
That it takes so long and you always stop just when you feel like, oh yeah, I can get going on this. And it's like, no. And it's exactly in your career, in
Yeah,
work. Okay.
exactly.
So does that make sense?
Yeah, definitely. Because then if I burn out, I can't be a good mum. I can't be a good, I can't be good. I'll just completely, I just won't, I'm just complete, either way, whether I start, whether I don't, I just feel like there's a blockage that I can't get past.
You said your kid is 3.
Yeah.
Do you guys play like with Legos and building stuff together? And
It's really weird you say that because when I was little, my favorite thing was Lego and building, and Bob the Builder was I don't know if you know Bob the Builder, where you're, but
I
in the
know,
yeah, those were my favorite shows. My little one, he likes to take things apart and see, oh, how does this work? How did it even get put? He doesn't put them back together just yet, but he loves to like unscrew things, open them up. How did this go? What's inside here? He's very much like that.
okay, do you feel the Jupiter in Capricorn again?
Yeah, great. He's a builder too.
Yeah, building things, but also like taking them apart, understanding the logic. And it's again working with things, right? Capricorn, Earth. How
hmm
did this thing get built? What is its function? How do I make it work?
Going,
Capricorn.
understanding the route before and understanding each step, you know. And I think that's what I'm trying to do. I'm trying to, because I don't like any loose screws. I'm like, I know I need to go back to the root sort of thing.
Yes.
Yeah.
Yes.
And that's it's a blessing, but I do feel like sometimes it can just be a bit of a curse because then you never begin.
Okay. That makes me think about the Saturn and Aries again.
Yeah, it's just, yeah, I'm in a rut at the moment.
Yeah, that makes me think about your Saturn return, that maybe at the end of this year, once Saturn starts officially moving away, you can have more success with that. That just comes up for me.
Yeah, okay.
Yeah. But until the end of this year, I guess, because Saturn's going to retrograde back, I'm not too sure. Um, the other thing I want to ask is like, obviously you're a very busy person. So do you have like a someone taking care of your son, like a grandma or a nanny or something?
So my mum would take care of him, the early years, but now he is in school, a nursery. But obviously after school, um, she would take care of him. But I am part-time at the moment because that was a very stressful thing to juggle that I thought I need to become part-time because again, I was burning out by doing everything.
Uh-huh.
So it's just like no matter what I do, there's just something that comes in that now I need to sacrifice my career for again.
Uh-huh.
I'm just constantly sacrificing my career because there's just too many things happening around me.
Uh-huh. Okay. I'm feeling the moon Saturn very much. Also the importance that you have in your career, how much you want to develop that,
Yeah,
how deep it is for you, and how you think about it all the time, I guess, because of the moon, right? Something that's
yeah,
so personal.
yeah.
Okay.
It's constantly on the forefront of my mind, constantly.
And do you feel like with your kids, you also like learn a lot and you also like take him places like museums or like playgrounds where he can study, observe?
Yeah, yeah. I take him everywhere that, especially places that I wasn't taken to because it was seen as, oh, you're not supposed to be doing this. I encourage that in him so much. The creativity, anything he shows an interest in, I will duplicate it. I'll give him more of that. Um, and I'm learning. I heal my own inner child by doing that as well.
Totally.
Yeah, I do that, and I think I prioritize that. But then there's obviously guilt when I go back to work, and I'm like, oh, but I could be at home with my, there's just
Okay, there's the moon Saturn again.
yeah, great. I love that aspect for me.
It's exact, right? And so
Yeah,
it's always there.
yeah,
Like that is such a strong, you rarely see exact aspects to the minute. So when you do, it's like that is the center point of your life, is that moon Saturn.
Does that mean that that's something I'd struggle or something I'd experience forever?
Yeah, but in different shapes. And so yeah, you will, but in different shapes.
Okay. It's
And
about finding a
and
balance.
well, here's the thing. That's the work of astrology, is to just start to get very familiar with your chart by studying more and more and more about what's happening, for example, when different transits are on your moon and Saturn. Like for example, right now you have a number of outer planets to your moon Saturn, so it's been very active, especially in the last 2-3 years. Now as well, this year was like super intense, so there's a lot of changes happening in that sphere. But you'll see that like it's something that happens every day. It changes in the months, and as soon as you get to know it, you start to recognize it, and you have a different relationship to it. So it's not like this death sentence where it's like, oh my God, I'm always going to suffer. Well, in a way, yes, but you don't really know how, because it keeps evolving and changing.
Ah,
Does that
okay.
make sense?
Yeah, yeah. And the theme I find is with the work and the moon and the Saturn, I do find it's just when I try and find a balance, that's when things flow. But the balance means I do have to sacrifice an aspect of either my career or my home life.
Moon, Saturn, right? 10th house.
Yeah, yeah. And
Mm,
tough because it means that sometimes I'm not 100% fulfilled, but it just means that my child and my home life and my routines are fulfilled. And I think I just need to, there's a level of maybe I just need to accept that that's what works for me. And that's so hard because it takes away from that ambition, you
yeah, and
know?
I guess they're gonna oscillate between the two, right?
Yeah.
Because there is that Saturn in the 10th, and so you can't help but make a clinic of your own eventually.
Yeah, I know. It's going to happen one day.
Yeah, see? So,
It's definitely, but I just hope it doesn't mean that it doesn't cost, you know, my my internal balance, my, you know, my health, my home life, and I just hope it doesn't cost. Yeah, I just don't know what the costs are going to be for me to do that. That's all as well. So yeah,
okay, very good. Let's pause there for today. Okay, what do you think?
that was amazing. I actually didn't see my Jupiter placement that way, and especially my moon and Saturn. Yeah, that is literally the theme of my life. Theme of my life, for years now, is it's either one thing or the other. It's just a pull between the two, and that's why I've taken a break now, and I just can't, it's just, yeah, it's just feeling stuck.
And the Jupiter also makes better sense, right? On all the different levels which it's
Yeah,
happening. You recognize it now more than before.
definitely,
Yeah,
definitely.
very good.
Yeah,
Okay.
yeah.
All right. I'm gonna stop recording, but you and I can talk for just a couple more minutes. All right. So Anika and I are signing out.